Just got back from watching Tron Ares. Saw that shit about an hour ago. Pretty damn good movie, honestly. It is important to consider this is acting as sort of a reboot to the series because it's been 15 years since Tron Legacy happened, which was a phenomenal movie, I thought. Although I will say this movie is much more what people expected from the second one, and I'll get into more what I mean later on. I do want to say this is a non-spoiler review, so do not worry about getting spoiled in this video. Tomorrow's video will have spoilers, and it will clearly state spoiler review. So if you do not want to get spoiled, you're in the right place. So again, let's talk about Tron Ares. So this movie follows the protagonist Ares and this woman named Eve Kim, who has taken over NCOM Systems. Now, NCOM being the company founded by Kevin Flynn, and or not founded, but you know what I mean. Like NCOM Systems was Kevin Flynn's company, which Sam Flynn took over at the end of Tron Legacy, kind of a little bit after the end of the movie. And we don't really see any of the characters from Tron Legacy except for one, which was Jeff Bridges, playing Kevin Flynn. And the plot of this movie is revolving around Dillinger Systems, who is ran by Julian Dillinger as the CEO. Julian Dillinger being the grandson of, the guy from the first movie, the original Dillinger. And essentially it's a software or programming arms race. Both companies have utilized the technology of, sending people to the grid in such a way, and they're trying to, and also bringing things into the real world, and they're trying to figure out how to perfect this technology, and both companies have their own ideas for how they want to use this, right? And it is about, the whole movie essentially revolves around that plot point of this one thing that both companies are trying to find to really perfect this system that they've created, or this technology that they created. And of course, that sets the tone for everything that happens. So this movie is it's just under 2 hours. It wasn't a full 2 hours. And it was pretty good. Like I said, I think this is a pretty solid movie. It was worth watching in theaters. But there is something to kind of think about, and that is, it's not necessarily continuing the story of that second movie setup, where Sam has left the grid with Cora, and she's an ISO, and kind of what that means for humanity, right? We don't really get a direct continuation of that story because this takes place a bit later. None of those characters appear in this movie. Physically appear in this movie, I'll say. That's not a spoiler because you'll see if you watch this movie, you'll see what I mean. Visually, it's a Tron movie. It looks pretty damn good. Soundtracks by 9 Inch Nails. I thought it was a pretty good movie. With the soundtrack, it was fun. I'm not really sure. The people that I've watched a decent amount of reviews from other people of this movie. And a common thing I've noticed is that they don't really understand or don't remember, which I don't blame them, kind of the names being mentioned in this movie, the references, where things are taking place, and, what that means in this movie, right? Which can be a little frustrating because it's like, man, you're not getting it, right? But let me play devil's advocate, right? If this is essentially a reboot, because it kind of has to be, it's been 15 fucking years roughly since Tron Legacy came out in 2010. If this is a reboot, you can't assume that everyone coming into this movie has seen the first two, right? You kind of have to build a solid story on its own, which I think this movie does fairly well, right? It's kind of hard for me to speak from the perspective of someone that hasn't seen the first two movies and loved the first two movies, right? Even read some of the comics, played the games, because it was a series I really, really liked as a kid. Um, maybe I'm a little biased, right, towards this movie, and I think that's something to think about too, right? Um, it's a fun movie. You know, it's fun. You're having fighting sequences. You're having chases through the city. You're having moments in the grid. And what I said earlier, where I think this movie is a bit more what people wanted from the second movie. What I mean by that is this movie has a lot of scenes that take place both inside and out of the grid. There is a back and forth between things happening on the computer screen in real life and things happening within the system, which I think mirrors the first movie very well, right? That's a strength of this movie, in my opinion, right? It captures the feeling of that first movie a little bit in terms of, structure in that sense, right? Than Legacy did, whereas Legacy took place primarily in the grid, right? There are some references to the first movie, obviously. I can't get into what those are specifically. The name Dillinger and him being the antagonist of the first movie is a connective tissue between all three movies, which is nice. Sam Flynn is mentioned in this movie. Cora is mentioned in this movie. And I'll let you find out to what extent when you watch it. Obviously, Kevin Flynn is in the trailer. We've seen him. He has a conversation with Ares, which is a phenomenal sequence, honestly. That whole part of the movie was great. There's also moments where the real people are having to fight the things that have manifested in the real world from the grid. And it was pretty fun. I mean, it was fun to watch. They are seemingly trying to add some lore to things to kind of specify some of the visual differences that we see. And I'm not going to spoil that in this video because that's not what this video is about. Now, should you see this movie? Well, that depends. I mean, are you a fan of sci-fi? If not, maybe not for you. If you're not a fan of Nine Inch Nails, you're not a fan of Jared Leto, and you hate him and you don't want to see anything involving him, maybe not a fucking movie you want to watch, right? Now, if you got a couple bucks to spare, which, I mean, it depends on how much you're paying too, right? Like, I think my movie theater, I went with 3 people. It was $24 plus, whatever we bought afterwards, which probably drove the price up a little bit. We'll say $30, 30-something bucks, right? For popcorn plus 3 people. Not bad, right? I thought it was worth it. I saw it in 3D. Pretty fun, honestly. But 3D movies aren't quite what they used to be. At least when I was a kid, I always felt 3D was really insane. But it's still really good. It was a good immersive experience. There's a lot of great visuals, a lot of great shots in here. The CGI is great. Nothing too crazy about that. There are some practical effects in this movie. There, real props. That not everything heavily relies on CGI, which I think is good because I think CGI is overused these days in films. There's great use of colors in some scenes, even outside the grid. Some great camera work. Lots of just good visuals, honestly. Like, I can't praise the visuals enough. Again, it's a Tron movie. You're going to get good visuals. Even the original, as did it as it is, if you think about how groundbreaking that was back then, it was great. Again, lots of nods to the original. And it's not necessarily nostalgia bait because this movie does follow its own story. And the primary focus of what happens in this movie is what's happening in this movie, right? Not so much what has happened in the past, right? The nods to the original movies are very subtle. There is one major nod to the original movie that does. There's a major part of the story, but it's not a bring back all the original characters from because there's only one character from the original movie that shows up in this, and that's Jeff Bridges, right? So nostalgia bait, can't really fucking say that. That doesn't apply. So get fucked. I really don't understand why people. There seems to be a criticism of this movie. If you want to say that it's a political narrative on the use of AI by big companies, I think you're full of shit, right? You could say that, sure, fair enough. But if you really want to dislike the movie because you're saying this is the message of the movie, and it's a political movie strictly, get fucked. Get the fuck out of here. You're a blueser, right? This is a fucking movie. Not every movie has to be political, right? Now, if you have that interpretation and you're like, oh, it's interesting, I could see it that way, right? Fair enough. Like, I can see where you're coming from if you're someone that views the movie that way, right? But not really viewing the movie that way. That's not what I went there for. The movie is pretty much its own thing. It's not trying to make a statement because that statement is not hammered home so many fucking times that you have the right to really make that assumption. So if it's something like that, that's stupid. I don't think that's really a fair criticism of the movie. I think that's just dumb shit. So what would I give this out of 10? I give it like an 8.5, right? There are some things in this movie that I didn't like, right? Like, you know what? I will say this. There is a moment in the movie where I thought that this fucking girl, fucking Eve Kim, was gonna fall in love with Ares. I got that vibe from one scene towards the end of the movie, and I was like, please don't do this shit. And they didn't, which was good. It's very much he is his own thing. And I think that it does leave the movie open for a sequel. Now, will we have to wait 15 fucking years for a sequel? I sure the fuck hope not, because I waited so long for this movie. And it was even rumored to be called Tron Ares back then, but I doubt the plot was the same, as it played out here. I got the original. I got the first two movies on Blu-ray still, and shit like that, and it's awesome. I still got some of the games I played. This series means a lot to me, right? And again, I don't even think that that's completely tainting my perception of this movie, because I did not like the fact that this movie is not following the story that was set up in the second, right? But I also went in knowing that was going to be the case because it's been 15 years and I saw a trailer and I could tell by the trailer that it's not going to, right? So did it suck? Yeah, but it didn't really bother me because I went in fucking knowing, right? Some people will watch a trailer and then be shocked when the movie plays out like the trailer. It's like, come on, bro. Some people are stupid. But overall, thumbs up from me. Great movie. Had a good time. My brother stayed still for this movie. He's 9 years old. You know how kids are. He thought it was a great movie. My mom liked it. And I think, again, there's a lot of nods to the first and some nods to the second movie, right? A few. The main thing being Cora and Sam Flynn being mentioned in this movie, which isn't much, but it's something, right? And it's just good. It's good to be back in this world because there is, I'm very fond of it. And it was very sad that we had been absent for 15 years and Disney gave up on it because I think that the momentum the second movie had was phenomenal, right? But, it is a more action-y movie, right? It is an action movie. The story's there. But I think the visuals and the action are some of the main focus of the movie. And there is some good writing between the two companies and their perception of what they want to do with this technology, right? Is this super deep? Again, is this super deep Christopher Nolan, fucking Quentin Tarantino movie? No, it's not. And if you're going to rate it by that standard, this movie's like a fucking 4 out of 10. You know what I mean? I'm not grading this movie by those fucking standards, and I think you shouldn't because that's fucking stupid. This movie, if you rate it as a Tron movie, if you rate it as an action movie, solid 8.5. That's what I'm giving it. Not a perfect movie by any means. I've seen better movies, right? But this was good. I waited 15 years, and I wasn't disappointed. I went in skeptical because I liked Tron Legacy so much. I liked the first one so much. I was like, are they going to be able to make a good movie? Are they going to be able to make a movie that that I'm walking out and I care about, this movie? And I think I do. I think they did a good job, right? Again, not perfect, but it was enjoyable. But anyway, I'm going to record a spoiler review probably after this so I don't forget because I got a busy Monday for me. It's Sunday at 1:39 p.m. here in Chicago. Had a great time, like I said. I'll see you tomorrow for a spoiler review. Again, spoiler review. Do not watch that shit. It's going to say spoilers on the fucking title. So, yeah, man, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll post that one. I'm gonna start posting again, different topics here and there. Not often because I'm busy, but want to give my thoughts because it is something I waited a long time for this. I was 9 when Tron Legacy came out. I'm 24 years old now. It's been 15 years, and I wasn't disappointed. I thought it was good for what it was. But yeah, man, you take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow for that spoiler review. I got a lot more to say. It'll probably be a lot longer because I'm going to go over everything that I liked about the movie, like all the references and things like that, and where they could go from here. Can't really include that in the spoiler in this video because, again, that goes into spoilers. So I'll see you tomorrow. You take care of yourselves and each other.